busted in. We broke down the door, we came to win. TLA Season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold-ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Dad, and if you're seeing my face, that means Kenny Ken is not here. So it is my job today to drive this dysfunctional bus. This is episode 79 of our Season 4 podcast. As a reminder, check us out across all social media platforms on our handle at The League AM, as well as our website, theleagueam.com, where you can find all of our content, our off football season podcast, Confirmation Bias, and our diplomatic community blog spot where you, the fan, can spit your bars and drop your hot fire as it pertains to the world of sports. Big shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman, who's been holding it down for the last couple of seasons. Get your posts in. Thank you for the post.
And he just had a birthday, right?
He did. Actually, happy 40th birthday, Nick. Don't want to put your whole shit out there, but hey, you gotta just keep waking up. A wise man told me. For those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, please share, comment, share the feed. Also, please feel free to make any suggestions, questions. We might try to get to them. Probably not, but we'll take a look at them. Please download 32 Kings Road and Confirmation Bias. Subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is under the banner League Ambassadors.
Business out the way.
Yes, sir. So let's get to it. Today, we will continue our NFL Worst 100 countdown, giving the bottom 3 worst players in the franchises of the Denver Broncos, Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, and the Seattle Seahawks. We also have a new entry to our S. Carter collection. And it's also time to play the good doctor again, prescribing medicine to the sick ones, or at least the ones that are mathematically out of the playoffs. And we'll also discuss some big late season game picks. So we have a good show. Let's get into it, gentlemen. But first, Chef Curry, what you sipping on, son?
Gentlemen, I am not sipping on anything because Kenyon stayed here this past weekend and ate me out of house and home, so I need to go to the grocery store. I don't have anything here at all, but I'm going to keep it history related. Now, Ken was great. He was great. But I'm going to keep it history related. December 10th, 1989, so 30 years ago today, Seattle wide receiver Steve Largent made his then NFL record 100th career touchdown catch in a win against Cincinnati, which I think is fitting given the other things that white boys have done this week to the Cincinnati Bengals.
We're going to get to it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All right. Redo, what you sipping on, Black King?
So since Kenyon is not here, we still going to keep it going. Holler at us, Sierra Nevada, sipping on his Pale Ale. And no, it is not mine. But I'm going to sip on something that I bring up every week. Not here, but the Queen, Regina King. What she's doing week in and week out on Watchmen to me is legendary. It's simply amazing. And each episode gets better and better. And now she is formally the second best motherfucker at saying motherfucker. She says it very motherfuckingly good.
Motherfuckingly. I think we just invented the word. I knew there was a lot of iterations of the word fuck, but motherfuckingly is definitely a new one for me.
Had to add one.
I'm sipping on nothing because I'm trying to stay healthy. But what I'm sipping on is Mr. Jameis Winston, aka Kevin's favorite player. This going into this week, he is second in the league in passing by 7 yards behind Dak Prescott. He is second in the league in touchdowns, 2 behind Lamar Jackson. But he is unquestionably number 1 in interceptions by far with 23 picks. Next closest is Baker Mayfield at 16. And to me, he's the most interesting player in the league because, like Kev says, you don't know what the fuck he's going to do. I mean, that's an amazing stat line.
It is.
Junior Blue, what you sipping on, sir?
Well, I don't have anything to sip on because I didn't have time today to get anything. But I'm also sipping on Saturday night. You had the rematch between Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. And the first fight didn't go as planned, really.
No spinning.
As Joshua got knocked out by Ruiz. The second fight went more like I thought the first one was going to go.
They spinning.
With Joshua basically outboxing Ruiz for 12 rounds. Ruiz came in 15 pounds heavier. Before the fight, his excuse was the timing of the weigh-in. I'd already eaten my full meal, so that's why I came in 15 pounds heavier. After he got his ass whooped for 12 rounds, it was, I partied too hard after the first one.
Which was the truth, probably.
So my question is, what's next? Do we see a third fight, first off?
No. Andy Ruiz will promptly go away from that part, but Andy Ruiz actually still does have a career because the kid can fight regardless of if he can get his weight control issues underway. His hand speed is too good.
That's a big if.
Well, I mean, and then he made he made more money this fight, so
right.
The partying might not go away.
I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, I was gonna say I personally don't want to see a third fight, but I watched the fight with Kenyon, and I kind of agreed to his point was that Ruiz put that weight on, thinking that the only shot he was gonna have was knocking Joshua out. But Joshua's of course more prepared. I wasn't. I'm gonna say probably around the 7th to the 8th round. I don't remember much that happened after that. But if it's what everyone says it was, that Joshua straight up handled the fight. It's good to see him step up and respond. And as much as I like Ruiz, a little unorthodox, kind of fun to watch. I'm not sticking around to watch this a third time.
I mean, I think that it will happen again for the mere fact that now the championship belts are going to be in hiding. And this is a lot easier fight to make because you can argue, okay, 1-1, let's run it back and see who wins the grudge match. I think in the actual fight itself, it was interesting. I mean, we shit on Joshua as much as we can for the spinning, and for those who don't know what Omar's been alluding to is that he's doping. He might not know he's doping, but
he knows now.
I think he felt different. Yeah,
let's applaud him for regardless of the dope that he came in 10 pounds lighter. He lost looks like muscle in his chest to gain. He didn't look winded at all. He fought a very smart fight. The fight he should have fought the first time. But I do have concerns about his chin because there were a couple times where he got hit by Ruiz and it was like, here we go.
And I've been screaming at since the first time I ever saw him fight was he's too muscular. Mm-hmm. Muscle is heavy, and if you're in a real dog fight, you will get tired. The only reason why he beat Klitschko is because Klitschko was 60 years old. So, but he fought the right fight.
Yeah.
And I will say this, even without the blood spinning in New York, because he couldn't do it. I do believe if he had more tape on Ruiz, he would have done a better job. It might have been the same outcome, but I think they still took him lightly. Didn't think he had that hand speed is real.
Oh, it was definitely a coordination. They had all the production behind it. He was working out in Miami, doing modeling shoots, and it was a late moment, replacement. Oh, this is gonna be easy work, and then he got rocked when he thought the fight was over. Mm-hmm. So okay, fight's over, and then boom, and then that changes everything.
Because Ruiz's chin is granite.
That's another thing that I took away from it because there were a couple punches that Joshua missed that would have ended everything. But the ones that he did land, Ruiz ate them, and I think maybe the extra 15 pounds.
Where do you guys rank Ruiz as far as tiers go? We know he's not with Wilder or Fury. I mean, you could say he's with Joshua, but is he better than Ortiz?
Ortiz.
I would like to see it. I think he's in that tier because of his hand speed and his chin. And I think that would actually be a good fight. There's some heavyweights out there he can fight.
Yeah. He can fight about everybody. I don't think he can fight Wilder or Fury. I think Fury plays with him for 12 rounds. He's too long.
Because Fury's hands never stop moving.
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter how much of a chin he has.
With Wilder.
No one can withstand that shotgun.
But I would put him probably right under Ortiz, unless Ortiz is done because of that last knockout. We don't know how, fighters tend to lesson after knockouts. I mean,
he's probably 50.
He's been like, they had 17 rounds of boxing between Ortiz and Wilder, and Ortiz probably won 13 of them.
Yeah.
But he has 2 losses.
Okay, so Joshua, you alluded to him holding the belts hostage.
Oh yeah.
In the next year and a half, does he fight Wilder, Fury, or Ortiz?
Definitely doesn't fight Ortiz. He's not fighting any more risks without big money anymore. That's 100%.
Yeah, because that's
the only
he
one of those
fucked up the money.
Yeah, he would. That's why I said that they would fight a third time. I think that they're looking at Usyk, who is the cruiserweight.
Because he was in the crowd.
That moved up, and he's also in the Eddie Hearn stable. Because he's also the WBO mandatory. So they might make that happen. I don't know. Wilder's basically saying like it's not going to happen. Out of the two, if you gun to head, I think Fury's probably the easier one to make. But Fury fights Wilder in February, and we don't know what that's like, and we don't know what Fury's going to be because he's doing WWE and all kinds of shit.
First of all, I don't.
Does he match up well against any of those guys?
Who? Joshua?
Are you talking about Joshua or Ruiz?
Ruiz.
Ruiz, he doesn't match up against the top tier, those top 3. He matches up against everybody else where it's a good fight, and most of them he probably wins. Joshua, I don't know if he beats Fury.
I don't think he does,
because the only reason why Wilder beat him was because of that great eraser, and I think the fight is different the next time, but still, he has the great eraser. Joshua doesn't have that power.
He has power, but he's not
that
Fury,
power.
Fury is slick enough to not get caught by because Joshua has to set you up, and Wilder's doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to land.
I think Wilder has learned his lessons about not waiting on people. He's acting like the American heavyweight champ of the world, and he's moving on without Joshua because he can get the money without him. They would rather have that because he thinks he can beat him, which he probably will. But and that's when, like you said, they're not taking it any dangerous fights unless it's the big money. So eventually, the whole point was for them to clear out everybody else, and then make the $300 million fight.
It just so happened that Fury came out of nowhere, and then Ruiz upset the apple cart, and that kind of muddied everything up because it was a lot of jockeying. But I think now it's a bigger fight, and then if you listen to Eddie Hearns after the fight, he can sell water to a whale, man. Like he's a snake oil salesman. He's saying now, and they were talking about Wilder but not mentioning his name and trying to like put it off. But he also said in the same breath, like, now it's a much bigger fight because it's the redemption story. He's a 2-time champ. He's on top. He's the governor. All this shit that he was saying.
He's not wrong.
No, I mean, now that he has the belts, but come on now. We know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm saying he's not wrong about it being a bigger fight. It's a bigger fight now.
It is definitely a bigger fight.
Especially if Wilder beats Fury in the rematch.
And the only way he can beat Fury is by knocking him out. So to be spectacular, and he can call everybody out.
Yeah. So and he's fared well in every rematch he's had.
Yeah. Speaking about calling people out, we're gonna get into this S. Carter collection. Drop some bars. Young Chef Curry, take it away.
All right, guys. So S. Carter collection, for those who haven't been following because of Jay-Z's involvement in the NFL. We're going to apply some Jay-Z bars to some happenings around the league. And tonight, I'm going to take some bars from the Blueprint album, famous diss track, Takeover, which applies to none other than New England Patriots. And I quote, "Your reach ain't long enough, Dunny. Your peeps ain't strong enough. Because New England is the Army, better yet, the Navy. Belichick will kidnap your baby, spit at your lady. They bring knives to fist fights to kill your drama." Hope said drama. Not drama, but drama. "We kill you motherfucking ants with a sledgehammer. Don't let them do it to you, Dunny. Had to overdo it, so you won't confuse it with just rap music." And if you don't know by now, history hasn't taught us enough about this franchise, is that they are the most ruthless, disrespectful, soulless organization in sports. They will do whatever, and I mean whatever it takes to win. They'll cheat. If they get caught cheating, they'll cheat again. They are the evil empire, the fucking Cobra Kai of the NFL. They will sweep the leg at any chance they get without repercussion. The shit is disgusting.
It's CIA level type shit that they did that they
They-
just pulled off. That shit was crazy.
They
So-
die with the lie.
So to give us some context, what Kev alluded to in his eloquent Jay-Z bars is, over the weekend, the Pats were caught filming the sideline of the 1-11 Bengals.
You are who you are.
And which is crazy, and that's kind of the guys you use as like, well, why would we record them? But what they said is that they hired an independent team, which was hired by Robert Kraft, to record a one of their scouts in the Just Do Your Job documentary series or whatever. And they got they got it okayed from the
CIA
Browns
level shit
because
comes in.
because they were practicing it was the Browns facility, but the Bengals were practicing. But the recording guys, the cameramen, were caught filming extensive footage of the sideline.
But it wasn't their fault. This is where the CIA level shit comes in. They're filming the scout. The scout knew they needed to get B-roll, which means, he's telling they need to find out what his job is. My job is to watch their sidelines. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. This is what he gave him a list of things.
So
of what
please
he's
look at this. Put this on camera. Zoom in.
They are now getting B-roll, just filming the things he's looking for, which is cheating. Right? But they had no idea. But they're going to get the film. They were unindicted co-conspirators.
The Code D.
Like it's crazy the level that they go into.
Has anything come out about the repercussions? Because they've come out and owned up to it. Like, yes, this is what happened. It wasn't intentional. It has nothing to do with the actual team. This was not football operations. This was franchise stuff here. Does anything come out about like what happens? I mean,
The only thing I've seen is that the NFL is not believing the shenanigans and they are ready to drop a hammer.
Yeah, they said they're not taking it lightly.
Yeah.
But let's see what they actually do.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them do more egregious shit than this,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, pay
I
a
don't-
fine, whatever.
Is this
We'll
more-
just act like it didn't happen?
I mean, what's more egregious than this? This is blatant.
This shit is impressive.
This is the same thing they did in St. Louis with the Super Bowl. This is almost
Right,
the
but
exact
that
same
was the
thing.
Super Bowl. This
Bowl.
is the fucking
Bengals.
Cincinnati Bengals. They should beat without even practicing.
I
They
mean,
do this shit.
it's
I almost think this was like the because it's the Bengals. It's like, let's see if we can get, if this shit works.
We gotta do your job every week.
Every fucking week.
you're
But
right.
didn't the NFL destroy the tape from the Super Bowl? So it's almost
They
like
did.
they're complicit in this. That's
But
why
more people have
I don't
seen
see
this
anything
tape.
changing. They're gonna keep doing this shit, and they're gonna be in the AFC Championship game every year until they decide they're tired of it. This is what they do. It's
But-
America.
What kind of
Stop and
punishment would need to be levied to actually stop them from doing it? Because last time it was like what a $500,000 fine or something like that, a couple draft picks.
At this point, it has to be draft picks. And I mean, because it doesn't. The most bullshit thing is when an owner gets suspended. Like it.
Yeah.
Like the only thing you can do
Mhm.
to really stop this shit is make them ineligible for playoff play,
Right.
and they're never going to
They're
do
You mean
not
that.
like on
do
some
that.
college shit? They can't
Yeah.
do that. Or what about if they did the
He can do everything fucking else.
overreaching ass? What if they did the Sean Payton thing where they suspended them for a year? Where you
The coach?
suspend? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay, but they got to prove it's him. Like there was
No. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I
We
think that's,
know it's him.
No.
We know it's
that was
him.
one of his coaches. It's different. Oh
Yeah.
no, it was a scout.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
yeah, it's the scout, right? It's not necessarily Bill Belichick, but that's the penalty. Like, hey, you got caught. Now Bill has to sit out.
The funny thing is, if this is Tom Brady's last year, he could use a year off and come back as the mad scientist, fucking making it worse for everybody else anyway.
As long as it's not simply a fine. I mean, 500,000. Like Robert Kraft spends that in a brothel in Florida.
Can you imagine how much he spent to
Weekly.
cover up the brothel shit in Florida?
I'm telling you, it's got somebody has to be suspended. Otherwise, it's business as usual for them.
But I mean, what again? Like, because if you go the route, like, okay, with the Sean Payton stuff, he's complicit because Bountygate. That's football related. That's in the locker room. This is not in the locker room. We know he is he's the Sith Lord of the evil empire. He's not Palpatine, but he's Darth Vader.
He's fucking Palpatine.
You think
He's Palpatine.
he's Palpatine.
There's nothing that goes on in that organization that he's not a part of. He is a control freak, and everybody knows it. And his memory is impeccable. He knows what's going. Yes, he knows what's going on. So for him to pretend like he doesn't know that there's a team filming his scouts, it's hard to believe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's called plausible deniability, right? You just deflect it off.
Problem is they don't have any more of that.
Die with the lie.
I mean, it's the Trump shit. It's like, if they got away with it with just a slap on the wrist, I can deal with that. I'm gonna keep doing it till you stop them. They'll keep doing it.
The only way you can stop them is, like you said, inflict some pain, like in the NCAA ranks.
Yeah,
but they can't do that. There's way too much money involved. Too many crime bosses behind the scenes.
Coach got to get suspended.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it, but do you really?
No.
Not at
all.
You right there, Kev?
You
Yeah.
lost me for a second.
Hey, we took so long to get that set up.
Now look at you.
Hey, actually, you're better. You are better. Hey, you are better. Look at God. Won't he do it?
Down.
All
All the
right.
time.
Let's move on. Let's continue our NFL worst 100 players. Again, this is where we choose the bottom 3 players from every franchise. And this week we will dive into the Denver Broncos, Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, and the Seahawks. And again, although this makes it extremely difficult, the criteria for this is they had to have played 3 years with the club and 16 starts. So let's start with you, Redo, with the Bengals. Who are your bottom 3?
I don't know why you always want to start with me when y'all know I ain't shit. So this one is not fair for him, but
That's how you started.
He's getting it anyway, just because of the number 1 pick, Kajana Carter. He was a surefire superstar. Every team who had the number 1 pick probably would have took him number 1, but I think it was the 3rd preseason. He shreds his knee, and he was never the same since. Never recovered to superstar status, star status. He was basically run-of-the-mill running back. And again, it's not fair, but he was a first pick who never panned out because of the injury. So that's why I have him as one of it, because he was supposed to be such a big superstar.
So is he number 1 or 3?
He's 3. I'm going 3.
Okay.
In that same draft, you had Tony Baselli, Kerry Collins, Steve McNair, Joey Galloway. Even though I don't think anybody would have took any of those players over him, it's just the way his turned out. It's not like Greg Oden was 55 and Portland still drafted him.
They could have had Durant.
When they could have had Durant. He was the guy you were supposed to pick. That's why I say it's not fair. But he's a bust because he never panned out. Number 2 was David Klingler. I don't know why there's an extra L in there. David Klingler was probably the same as, not as good as Kajana Carter, but he set collegiate records. And I think he had in one game 716 yards. He had 54 touchdowns his senior year. He started 24 games with the Bengals and won 4. He was there, I think, for 4 years. But his overall starting record was 4-20, 16 touchdowns, 22 interceptions, a 5.6 yard pass average, 54.2 completion percentage. He was drafted in 92, was out of the sport completely by 97.
Not even a clipboard holder.
Final 2 seasons with the Oakland Raiders.
Everyone dies there, don't they?
They do.
He was winless in his first 7 starts in 94, and the team began easing in none other than Jeff Blake.
Jeff Blake.
He's the number 2. And number 1.
Damn.
So I got through them fast. I need y'all to bear with me on this one because I ran through this post, and it's from Josh Kirkendall from CincyJungle.com. Because it's funny. So number 1 is Achilles Smith.
Mm. Damn.
Because you can tell he feels the pain. So it goes, electing to perfect his mad passing skills before joining the ranks of the collegiate elite, or maybe because nobody wanted him, Kabisa Akili Marudufu Smith spent 2 years at Grossmont College before transferring to the University of Oregon, where he posted an impressive 32 touchdown passes during his 11 starts in his senior year. And because a 1-year sample size for a player that was initially unwanted is all one needs to redefine an entire franchise, Smith did generate some buzz for the 1999 NFL Draft. The Bengals took that buzz to an entirely different level. While reasonable organizations would hesitate to base their third overall pick with a guy that employed such a limited sample size, this once flailing organization who had won five or fewer games in 5 of the previous 8 seasons needed to hit a home run. Additionally, the Bengals had just completed a 3-13 season with 3 different starting quarterbacks. The Bengals needed a franchise quarterback. It didn't come without controversy. They were offered 9 picks from Mike Ditka, who wanted to come up and get Ricky Williams. And the Bengals, feeling that they were obviously on the short end of that one-sided deal, refused. So with the 3rd overall selection in the 1999 NFL Draft, the Bengals selected Oregon quarterback Achilles Smith. As his first act as a quarterback, Smith held out with a contract dispute.
Of course.
Missing most of the training camp. From 99 to 02, Smith started 17 games, posted a 3-14 record, completing 46.6% of his passes.
Oh, gosh.
5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions for a career quarterback rating of 52.8. During his second season, the Bengals benched him.
Golly.
So the next 4 picks in the draft after him,
Yep, Donovan McNabb.
Edgerrin James, Ricky Williams, Torrey Holt, Champ Bailey. And they were offered 9 picks because they wanted Ricky Williams.
There's a bunch of Hall of Famers in there.
So he goes down as the
He
worst.
might end up in that final 4.
Final 4.
He's damn. I mean, Klingler to the bridge to
Right.
Achilles. I mean, they haven't won a playoff game since 1991. Kevin was 1.
Jesus.
That is terrible. So for me, I had the Titans, who's a fairly young organization. So I will start it as well as in ascending order from 3 to 1. Number 3 on the list is Justin Hunter, wide receiver out of Tennessee. So I think he's from Virginia, but he went to college in that town or in that state. So they picked him up in the 2nd round. 3 years with the club. In those 3 years, as a 2nd round pick, he posted 68 catches for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, as a receiver, your primary job after you break the line of scrimmage running fast is to turn around and do what, Les?
Catch the ball.
Okay, so he had drop issues, which means he didn't have very good hands. Unless it was when he got into an altercation and got arrested in 2015, where he was described by the police as malicious intent, stabbing, cutting, and wounding in a altercation. So that's number 3. And I want to preface this with any Titans fans out there that sees this. You have a lot of terrible players that didn't make the cut because you just didn't quite make the criteria of 16 games in 3 years. But there was some very, very bad busts. So I'll move to number 2, which was Andre Wolford, defensive back out of Oklahoma. He was the 28th pick in the 2003 draft. As a DB, he only had 3 career interceptions. The biggest reason why he falls in there is because he was drafted 28th. And with the 31st pick, the Raiders took Nnamdi Asomugha. And then with the 35th pick, the Bears took Peanut Tillman.
Wow.
Not to mention that after that, Rasheem Mathis, Ashanti Samuel, Ike Taylor, and Jeremiah Bell all got drafted as DBs after him. And he didn't last very long. The biggest bust that fit the criteria is guard by the name of Chance Warmack. He was drafted 10th overall from Alabama. Now, a guard hadn't been selected in the top 10 since 1997, and this was in 2013. So that should have been a red flag. If a whole entire position has been drafted that long or that high in 16 years, you might want to reevaluate your situation. So he was a 3-year starter for the club, but when reading up on his play, they said that he was inconsistent at best in the running game and was a turnstile in the passing game. If you don't know what a turnstile is, it's the thing that you pass when you go into amusement parks or bus stations or trains. So basically, he was letting people through. His lack of athleticism reared its head quite often, which showed up in the passing game. In year 4, he had a season-ending injury in 2 games where he hurt his ankle, and he was replaced by Josh Klein, who was just finished up with the club last year. I think he plays for Minnesota, who also starts. So as soon as they entered him, the run game took off. So it was clearly his issue. Not to mention that if they would have jumped and still got a guard that you aren't supposed to, basically the Bears on the 20th pick of that draft took Kyle Long. And other good players after that were taken, Sheldon Richardson, Eric Reed, Kenny Vaccaro, Desmond Trufant, Tyler Eifert, and Xavier Rhodes. But somehow this guy, because he's a big body and he was such a high pick, he's still in the league up until last year, I believe, and he got a ring with the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So that's like a big fuck you to the Titans that he actually got a ring with that shit.
I think it's worse that you had problems finding people who didn't have the criteria.
No, I mean, because you have people that were bigger busts where they drafted high.
That's what I mean.
And then they traded them away for like a 5th or 7th round pick the next year. And it was like, damn.
Wow.
You didn't even make the cut. So, Junior Blue, Seahawks.
Yeah, I have the Seahawks, and they are definitely quarterback heavy.
Yeah. Yes.
We're going to start with Rick Meyer. He was selected number 2 overall in the 1993 draft. He was a 4-year starter with the Seahawks. He never threw for more than 2,800 yards. And once had more than a good ratio of touchdowns to interceptions, and that was 11 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He finished with a record of 24-44 record as a starter. He is number 3 on my list. So we're going to go to number 2, who actually was the person drafted before him. In 1991, Dan McGuire was drafted number 16. He was drafted in the first round to be the QB1. All you need to know about him, his best season, he threw for 578 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions.
That's his best season?
That's the best season he had.
Not a 2-game stretch?
Not a 2-game.
That's
no.
Jameis Winston in a hat.
So that was number 2. So if that's number 2, number 1 is Kelly. And the crazy thing about it went 1988, 1991, and 1993.
They can't get right.
They can't get right. So Kelly Stouffer in 1997 was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals. He refused to sign, and he sat out the whole year. Around the draft of 1988, the Seahawks said, you know what, we can get him signed, and traded away 3 draft picks for him.
Jesus. And
this is what he does. In 4 seasons, he started 16 games, so he made the cut. He had a record of 5-11 and threw for a total of 2,333 yards. And his touchdown to interception ratio, 7 touchdowns, 19 interceptions.
So he's generous.
Yes, he liked giving the ball away. So he was the worst player in a quarterback heavy bottom 3.
Wow. And they were all trash. Good.
And they were back to back to back.
That's why they changed conferences. They just had to change up something. Getting their ass whipped in the AFC. Kev, I actually assigned this to you for personal reasons. This was your second daddy, John Elway's home. Denver Broncos.
It was. Unfortunately, before the Ravens came here, I was a Denver Broncos fan. I was also 5 years old, so don't hold any of that against me. And for those reasons, all three of my selections are within the last 19 years because the Denver Broncos that I grew up liking didn't put up with that bullshit. So no one before the year 2001 stayed on the team for 16 games or at least 3 years. So I'm starting with none other than Mr. Willie Middlebrooks, cornerback, drafted in the first round, 24th overall in 2001. Prior to the draft, Mr. Middlebrooks was regarded as the best man coverage player in the Big Ten. And as a result, the Broncos got from him was 2 starts and 0 interceptions in 51 games. How he played 51 games, I have no idea. But the Broncos put up with that bullshit long enough to see him go. Number 2, coming in number 2 is Mr. Ashley Lally. Everyone remembers he was first round pick, 19th overall out of Hawaii in 2002. Had a solid rookie year, standout year in 2004. He had like 7 touchdowns or something like that. But then he demanded a trade when the team went out and got Javon Walker. And if Javon Walker makes you insecure about the contributions you can bring to a team, you got some problems. But more importantly, what I got from this was that if Lally lived up to his draft potential, then the team would have never went out and got Javon Walker, which means Javon Walker is not in the car the night Darren Williams gets shot. And I'm not saying it's Ashley Lally's fault. I'm just saying wouldn't happen.
Damn. You like that rabbit hole.
I'm just saying. Your job.
Didn't see that coming at all.
Listen, if y'all trying to take this to the next level, you got to go there. And last but not least, and I do apologize as this player does not technically meet the criteria, but there's no way we can talk about the Denver Broncos and bad draft picks and bad quarterbacks without talking about the one and only Tim Tebow. Who was drafted first round, 25th overall out of Florida. He completed 47%. Yes, 47% of his passes as a Bronco. And I don't care if they made the playoffs, and I love the fact that they beat the Steelers in that playoff game. But we cannot overlook how awful he was as a quarterback. But then the hype around it, like was it Tebow time or Tebow Mania, whatever that
Tebow time and Tebow
Skip Bayless was on. Oh my God, it was awful to watch because it was 58 minutes of god-awful football before their defense kept him in the game. He gets the ball at the 45-yard line. All he has to do is complete a 17-yard pass, and they're in fucking field goal range to win the game. And somehow it happened down the stretch of that season. But, I mean, he has a stat line where he went 2 of 8 for 69 yards in a real game, like a full regulation game. And 56 of those 68 yards was a pass to Eric Decker that went to the house. So just the fact that this went on for so long, and it really makes me upset just looking at the NFL now, that all of the criticisms that come of, let's just say, a Lamar Jackson, the nitpicky bullshit that they can bring up about what he does and doesn't do, despite the fact that he's leading the most prolific offense in the NFL right now.
I love his white sleeves.
And the white glove. That they let ride. I mean, Charlie Ward somewhere is fucking pissed. Like they gave Tim Tebow this many opportunities, and then I look at the other names, the other quarterbacks that went in this draft. Oh my God, 2010 might be the worst draft class of quarterbacks ever. We have Sam Bradford, Jimmy Clausen, Tim Tebow, Stephen McGee, John Skelton, Joe Webb, Colt McCoy. So if I was the Denver Broncos,
ain't Joe Webb a wide receiver now?
I just wouldn't have drafted a quarterback at all. But then you look at the names that went off the board after him: Devin McCourty, solid; Dexter McCluster, solid; Rob fucking Gronkowski, Carlos Dunlap, Sean Lee, Golden Tate, Les and Devin's favorite player, Geno Atkins, Emmanuel Sanders. Who else we got? Oh, Cam Chancellor, and none other than Mr. Antonio Brown.
Wow.
So, yeah, the Broncos could have done a lot of other things with that pick. But
and they jumped up to get him.
Yeah, they traded away draft capital, and that basically sealed Boy Wonder's fate. What's his name? the OC for Patriots. Josh McDaniels.
He told Jay Cutler, "My way or I'm the captain now."
And
He wrecked
went
that
down
whole
ship.
franchise.
Yeah, they wound up getting the ship out of it though.
They rebuilt it.
All right, so we'll continue this every week until we get to our 100, and then at the end we will have a show where we try to compile the bottom 4. We already know who number 1 is, so we're trying to work around the other 3.
Yeah, we're gonna fight about those 3.
So continue to tune in so we can give some light. And if you feel like it on social media, go ahead and if they meet the criteria, shout out some names that you think might meet that for your franchise. As we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, we're going to move on to the sick ones. And now that the playoff picture is getting clear, entering week 15, we've started to identify the teams that are out of it, which we've done over the last couple of weeks, and what they should do to be better next season. So there are some teams that were on the cusp, but they're still mathematically
Don't look
in
at me,
it.
motherfucker.
I'm looking at both of y'all.
I still got a 4% chance.
Hey, it's Laker season.
Yeah, it's been Laker season.
But after this week, we'll see. You guys need a lot of help, but it's mathematically possible. So we don't want to be irresponsible and jump the gun.
I ain't gonna let you.
So this week we only have 2 teams that are officially that have been officially eliminated that we haven't talked about, and that's the Lions and the Cardinals. So let's start with the Cardinals here. They have $74 million in cap space, and they have 37 players signed going into 2020. They have a QB on a rookie deal. Where do they start?
Their O-line ranks 26th in pass protection.
Yeah.
DJ Humphries is horrible. He needs to be replaced. There is what's his name? Anthony Costanzo is potentially going to be a free agent from the Colts. I mean, he's a good left tackle. They need O-line help from the draft and free agency, and they have the money to get it. Because you have a small quarterback. You have to protect your small quarterback because he's a quarterback. You have a quarterback. You have a coach. That's a start. You know, you have the cornerstone, so you have to protect him.
So we're in agreement that they have their quarterback. The coach fits.
Yeah.
There were some questions going into the season how he's another cup of coffee with McVay.
Yeah. Well, he showed he can do what he can do.
Okay, so we're in agreement with that. What do you think, Les?
I think the offensive line does need help. I think some of their, Patrick Peterson, he's not on the same timeline as this team.
Or
got you.
Yeah, or
sucks.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
He's
he
50.
he went there just for his final hurrah anyway.
Yeah.
So and they're not paying him much. I just think they need to cut some of that fat, and because Patrick Peterson has value, he will get you a 3rd round pick.
So you mean trade Patrick?
Yeah, trade Patrick. Chandler Jones is somebody else I would also look to trade.
He's the highest paid player on the team.
Highest paid player. That way you could build your team because you do need some free agents, but they don't need to be high priced veterans.
Yeah.
Not where they are right now. Like you said, they have a very young quarterback who looks like he will be good in this league. The coach, they have kept games close with some of the
They give everybody a fight.
Just
And
think
they're
about
playing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Rams,
They with us too.
49ers, Ravens, they kept all these games close. So they're not far, but I think as you go into the coming seasons, you're going to start realizing some of these older players are going to fall off, and they're so high priced that you need to trim that fat.
Speaking of older players, Kev, Larry Fitzgerald, this is his last signed year. Is this it for him?
It doesn't look like it will be. He hasn't made it clear that he ever wants to go to another team to compete, which he probably should have did 6 years ago. But look, if Fitz wants to stay, I would keep him. There's nothing better for a young quarterback than a security blanket, a Hall of Fame wide receiver. But I do think they do need to get younger. They do need to at least at some point bring in a wide receiver that can grow with Kyler. And I agree with the point you guys made about their O-line. All of that's great and needs to be addressed. But their defense is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
I don't really know how else to put it. I mean, you got Jordan Hicks, he's third in the league in tackles. Chandler Jones, you mentioned, is second in sacks, but they are giving up the third most points in the league. They've given up the most passing touchdowns in the league. They're the third worst team in terms of interceptions. I think they have like 6 all season. They're bottom 10 worst team against the run. And I think that as bad as it sounds, I think this has been pretty solid just looking at the Cardinals, giving them the eye test. They're in almost every game they play except for they got like 3 blowouts, Saints, Seahawks, and I think the Rams blew them out. But anything other than that, they're a tough out. They're the worst team in the best division in football, but they do come out and compete. I just think they need the pieces. And as much as Kyler Murray needs help on offense to protect them, to help them grow, defense isn't going to help them if they're giving up 30-something points a game.
And they can use another safety to put with Buda Baker.
Yeah, because he can't do everything.
No.
He tried, though.
I'm glad you said they were the best division in football because that's the second division we're going to win this year, the NFC West. Speaking about defense, though, let's move on to the Detroit Lions, where they hired a defensive genius as their head coach, Matt Patricia. He's a rocket scientist, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Carries a pencil in his ear.
Yes, he does. They are bottom 4 in defensive yards per game.
And they were top 10 last year?
Yep. They're tied for last in interceptions. Obviously, Stafford got hurt in the middle of the year. They were also one of those teams that was overly competitive. Is it the defense, and is that a knock on Patricia?
I will say this. I think a lot of it was injuries. They've had a lot of injuries this year because last year they were a good defense, and they brought most people back, and they even added some more pieces. So I'm not sure if it's anything but that, because sometimes you never know, but they went from one end of the spectrum to the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, they're right there with teams like Bengals, Miami, and the like at the bottom of the barrel of defense. They have $46 million in cap space, 41 players signed for 2020. Kev, do you agree, or do you think it's something else?
I think it's something else, and it's kind of similar to what I said about the Cardinals. I'm glad Kenyon's not here for me to ask the question, but can anybody name a standout on the Detroit Lions defense?
Darius Slay.
Slay.
Yeah, we're not building our franchise. So my point is, and I feel like it's been like that for some time with them. It's just like, okay, Matt Stafford, he's passing the eye test, he can do some things on the field, he can put up numbers, but like, what are we doing? He does, but at the end of the day, you got to play. This time of year, we've been talking about, you got to be able to play complementary football, and I don't know what the Detroit Lions have been doing on defense. I don't know what they can do outside of, you got to start from scratch and actually bring somebody in that you can build around, or at least hang your hat on, like, hey, this is our guy at least for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't see anyone on that roster now or 3 years ago they've been able to do that.
The thing about it is, I think that I think the injuries on defense caused them to slide. Then when you lose Matt Stafford, now it's a lot more 3 and outs.
You're down to your third string.
Exactly. Now you're on your third string quarterback. That puts more pressure on the defense that had injuries. So it's going to look probably worse than what it actually was.
Yeah.
Right.
But to wrap it up, it really wouldn't matter when they were top 10 defensive team and had Stafford. They still were a 9-17.
Right.
So no matter what happens, they're still going to be middle of the road.
And talk about left tackle. Their left tackle was the most penalized in football this year so far.
With 3 games ago.
Their O-line is a problem. And then, I don't know what it is. You talk about cursed.
Yeah.
The best ability is availability. And Kerryon Johnson is a talented back. But they have had the worst running back problem since Barry Sanders. They cannot get it right. They have drafted talented backs. They can never stay healthy. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
They pick the most brittle motherfuckers.
Didn't they have Javed Best?
Yeah.
He's still asleep.
Yeah.
And, the real question is it time to start moving on from Matthew Stafford? I mean, that's a real question, because it's not like he needs spinal surgery. Like, he plays football.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question too. It's like, at some point, you get tired of being middle of the road. And I like Stafford. I'm a fan of him. I'm not going to call him transcendent, but I definitely think you got to coach. You got to make your name in this game. You got to put your stamp on the franchise. And I don't know if you can start with a guy who, like you said, Omar, isn't available. And what do you have to lose? You're like Arizona, the worst team in a pretty good division. What are you losing? You're either going to be, 13. You can be 3-13 or 8-8, but at the end of the day, you're not going to take that next step to compete. So why not start over?
And my policy has always been dynamite. If you are middle of the road, you are nowhere.
Blow it up.
Blow that shit up and start over.
Yeah. Speaking of people that can't start over, let's move to our
Segway
hot topic.
king.
I try.
Race that motherfucker.
It was announced last week that former NFL star Michael Vick was going to be honored as one of the 4 legendary captains at this year's Pro Bowl, which nobody watches. As of 6 hours ago, 500,000 people have signed a petition to remove Vick as the captain. Another petition was signed that has 200 signatures demanding the same thing. And a third was signed that had 90,000 signatures for sponsors to back out if he wasn't removed. This is a quote from someone from Facebook regarding this. It says, when is the NFL going to take any responsibility for this behavior of its current and former players? To honor a man who had zero regard for animals is unacceptable, and I would like your help to make sure he is not honored at the 2020 NFL Pro Bowl. As a reminder, Michael Vick served 18 months in prison and had his contract voided and missed out on all future earnings. When is it okay? There's nothing more American aside from slavery than the redemption story. When we gonna get off of this? Rito,
Let me know.
you got your hand raised.
My
Go
turn.
ahead. Yes.
And I want y'all to pay attention. And I hope somebody shares this. If you care more about animals than you do humans, fuck you. Because nobody cares about the people who have been drunk drivers, the people who have beat up girlfriends. You don't get this shit. There are countries where they eat dogs for dinner. You ain't go. I guarantee you, some of these people have been there and spent money in that country. Guarantee you. The man paid his debt to society. I like dogs like anybody else. They are still pets. I get that. But to deny this man an opportunity because you like dogs or animals more than humans, fuck you. Because that means you care more about the wrong thing. And you don't like it, come see me. Fuck you. Let that man live.
Big trust.
Well, I say you outside of the bank.
Outside the bank. For me,
Unless you 6'4", then your opinion is yours.
But before I let you two jump in on this, I just like to say, like, I was discussing this with my good friend Wayne, and he kept it real simple. He's a vegetarian. He's like, if you eat meat and you participate, if you wear leather shoes and you wear all this, then you can't say a fucking thing, because at the end of the day, you're a hypocrite as well. And I love dogs. I have 2 right now. I let them stay in my damn cave when it's raining. I've been loving them too much lately. But
I know.
But if a man is charged with something and he's paid his debt to society and he's given back to the causes to help those things and he's learned from it. I mean, I think, how old is Michael Vick? Is he 38, 39? I want to say he's around that age. Something that he did when he was 28, 29. You want to hold a man at that standard for the rest of his life? You're a fucking idiot.
Now, here's the question. They haven't acquiesced to this, right? He's still, as of right now, still...
Yeah, he's still...
Okay. Because they can't. Like, please, they can't.
I mean, the things that Wayne said, you can't have it both ways. You can't have Jimmy John be a sponsor for the NFL and he's running around killing rhinos and lions and big game hunting like that, but yet because Michael Vick was, dog fighting, but he served his time, lost out on his money, came back and had a couple good years, but it was still a lot of lost
and
time.
all that
there.
was doing was trying to pay back his debtors.
Exactly.
He didn't make a profit.
I mean, and that's the thing. You have to let people live. You can't hold somebody for something that they paid their debt to society for.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, and I agree with all the points you guys made. America's never been willing to give black man a second chance. And it's just it's funny because to all the points you made, but even still about just the products we use, shampoo. You don't think this shit gets tested on animals? Like it happens. It's hypocritical. It's fake wokeness. It's fake activism. And I saw something online earlier. Someone that said that white people want to be oppressed so bad that they live vicariously through animal cruelty. Like,
That's the realest shit ever.
Like, yeah, you want to be heard about something, and this man, like you said, he paid his debt to society. He's probably done more work to fix this or to advocate or to learn than anybody I've seen. He's been dragged through in a ring of people, protested everything he shows up at. Like, it's happened. And at some point, you're going to claim to be, the land of second chances. Then you have to open that up to people who, I mean, let's be honest. He didn't do the worst thing in the world. I mean,
this is America.
You let your president run around doing this kind of shit, but then you're mad at this guy who already served his time and already, acknowledged the mistakes that he made and has grown from it. If anything, he's grown from something that at a time in his life he didn't, as many people don't know, thought there was nothing wrong with that. It was a cultural thing. It happened. He paid his price. He learned from it. But I think ultimately though, to something that what you were saying that made me think of this, is this going to take someone with power, someone within the NFL to say, yeah, we understand what's going on, but we're going to rock with Vic. We're going to stand by and support him. We understand what he did, but we're going to stick with this and not care about public backlash.
Because at the end, he did kneel, so they got to rock with him.
Yeah.
Ooh. They do.
But to piggyback off of that point, Kev, actually two things. Actually, David Akers jumped out in front of that and basically said the same things that we're saying, and people tried to drag him. And then one person, I sent this to the chat earlier, someone said, someone who owns slaves should never be honored either, but yet we still celebrate. And I thought that was fucking perfect.
They get statues.
Yeah. Mike, I hope you can come back for our next segment so we can put up the graphic.
No, keep that graphic down. Let's go.
No.
Let's go.
Hey, man, I was close to having a good fucking week.
Okay. But before we move to that, if the NFL removes him, what do you think happens at this point? Like, what does that say?
I don't think they can remove him. I think they realize they know their audience, and I don't think this is a problem for them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between the cap situation because they know their audience. Yeah. This is not their audience.
So let's extrapolate the figures and say they're all individual, singular people. That's 600,000. No. Almost 800,000 people that have signed this. It's almost 1 million people.
That's nothing.
It's nothing?
Nothing. I mean, how many millions of people watch each game?
True that. Okay. Fair enough. Before we get out of here, let's jump into our game picks. There he is. There's Mike. Let's take a look here.
One little game on the road.
Everybody had a very good week. Everyone went 12-4 except for Redo. He actually went 13-3, made up a game on me. Les and Kenyon are battling out for the bottom, and Kev is right there in the middle, just 3 games back. This week we wanted to highlight 3 very important games, and we can talk about which one is the most important. Let's start with Bills versus Steelers. This game is in Pittsburgh. It seems like they have every damn game in Pittsburgh. Junior Blue, who you got in this game?
I got the
sorry. Oh, hey.
I got the Bills winning that one. I think they're playing good. They just faced you guys, and I think going up against the Steelers, that defense is going to smother them.
Yeah.
I agree with Les. I think they learned a lot from the game against us. The defense travels. I like what Allen's doing. I think they got more talent. Even though I think the Steelers might be getting healthier this week, I think the Bills are the better team for now.
Okay.
Ditto.
I also have the Bills. That Steelers offense is putrid, and we've seen what the Bills can do in cold weather. Should be cold. Redo, let's start with you. Rams versus Cowboys. Very important game. All these have playoff implications.
Taking the Rams. Besides, the Cowboys have, I believe, given up on their season. Talking about the players because they know it's a wrap. And let me take that back. That's extreme. I don't think they've done that, but they're playing as if it's a wrap. But the Rams looked great last week against Seattle. The Cowboys play the same fucking defense. They excel against these defenses. And matter of fact, the Vikings play the same defense, and I think the Rams play the Vikings. So I'm definitely going with the Rams.
I'm going to take the Rams just simply because the Cowboys can't beat a team with a winning record.
I actually went to the Rams game on Sunday night, and they unleashed Gurley and threw to every receiver and tight end
Like
they had,
used to.
like they used to. And to me, they're going to knock the Cowboys out.
I mean, getting beat 45-6 makes you wake up. Kev, who you got?
Yeah, man. Rams coach Marty McVay went back into the future and revived what.
Oh,
Whoa.
we lost you for a second, Kev. Revive what?
Oh no, revive what worked for them last season.
Yeah.
And run the ball. And
And
this time of year, this is what you do.
He had to apologize. He was like, I've been an idiot.
Yeah.
We'll run the ball more.
Yeah. And last game, Texans versus Titans. This is in Tennessee. Man,
I don't fucking know.
this is a tough game. The Titans are the team that I hate picking every week because I don't know what team's going to show up. But I will say that Mr. Tannehill, like we said last week, has showed that Adam Gase is a terrible coach. I'm going with the Titans at home. They're hot.
I'm going with the Titans also.
I don't.
Yeah, me
fucking
too.
know.
Going with the Titans.
I will
Come
say.
back player of the year, man.
This. Tannehill. God damn. And it's only because it's the Titans that it's not a story.
Yeah, because we don't know. Kev?
Comeback player of the year, Mr. Ryan Tannehill. I hate giving awards before the season's over, but yeah, man, he's deserved it and goes to the point I've been making for 29 years of watching football. It's about systems and players that fit, and Tannehill looks like a different guy with a coach that can actually do what he was hired to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty good show, guys. We did it. We made it without Kenny Ken. Come back next week, sir. We will continue a lot of stuff that we started, the 100 worst players, as well as the prescriptions from the good doctors here at TLA.
Since the Bears are winning, we will still be.
You're going to hold off mathematically. Again, check us out across all social media platforms. Our handle is at The League AM. The website is theleagueam.com. Please subscribe and rate our podcast. Check us out across social media. And until next time, cheers, mate.
Mm-hmm.
We busted in, we broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.